Okay, so what like fake urban myths messed you guys up as a child?
Mr. Toenails.
What's Mr. Toenails?
Yeah, that's not an urban myth.
I think that Brian. This sounds like a Brian story.
Mr. Toenails is, you know how we have Don Conroy, who's like the Irish version of Bob Ross.
Yeah.
There was another guy who was sort of like Don Conroy, but he didn't draw cartoons. He purely did scenic paintings.
Okay.
And he was on like RT1, which is the more like daytime adult orientated boring channel. But he had like a teach yourself art video at the supermarket, and I was with my friends at the supermarket, because when you're 8 years old you have to go to the supermarket with your friend's mom when you go out, and the older brother was there and he was like, see that guy? That's Mr. Toenails, and he lives in your garage, Brian, and at night he's going to crawl into your bedroom and eat your toenails.
Ooh.
And I was like, why would he lie to me? That has to be true.
That's such a gross concept, but like, I mean, it's not the worst thing to go. Like, he doesn't eat your toes, just your toenails.
Just my
I
toenails.
can see how something like that would bother Brian specifically.
But
Yeah,
then-
no,
but then-
conceptually it's really gross.
But then Mr. Toenails would be like, I'll be back when they grow back.
Oh no! So it's like it's like an It Follows situation where
Oh,
it
yeah.
comes back every time your toenail grows.
That's pretty scary. Just the idea of like a being that haunts you, but like it doesn't do anything. You know, it doesn't kill you. It just kind of it rearranges your room.
It just parasite. It's a parasite that hosts off you. That's
kinda
all.
what it's like,
It just
isn't
it just feeds off your worries.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Do you have any
What
urban
messed you up,
legends?
Neve?
We had the White Nun where I was from.
That sounds scary.
Yeah. And like, I don't remember the stories specifically, but it was all like there was a convent in the town, and there was a fire escape that was up 3 floors, and like there was just this one light, and the fire escape was over the tennis court, like where all the girls used to play tennis. And it was just that one night the White Nun went up there and could have been seen in her white robes, and she just kind of like flung herself off the top of the fire escape, and she just haunted the grounds. So anytime you're on the grounds of school after dark, it was just like, oh shit, the White Nun, did you see the White Nun by the goalposts?
I saw her.
So it was a very elaborate tale that went on through the town of the White Nun.
The White Nun.
Don't know if it's
Fuck
true.
that.
Maybe a nun died on the ground. Loads of nuns died there. But
Yeah.
yeah.
One of them was probably white.
What about you?
Man, do you know, it's like a really kind of classic urban myth story. It's about the blind girl with her dog under her bed.
Oh, the classic urban myth. No, I've never heard of
You've
this.
never heard this
No.
one? Have you, Brian?
No.
Yeah.
No, you might.
That's
like
JoJo's. You and JoJo's.
No, it's like
That sounds like a load of horseradish.
it's like the one from part 4 is like a kind of retelling of this.
Okay. I've never.
Oh
heard this
man,
story.
I was a kid and I was on holidays and I was hanging out with this like other child girl on holidays.
Girl
and
child?
She told me this story and it just fucked me up for the rest of the holiday. So it's about this blind girl, right? And every night she puts her hand under her bed and her dog licks her hand.
Yeah.
I am amazed you guys have never heard this.
Maybe I will if you keep telling it, and it'll come to me.
One night anyway, she calls her dog and it doesn't come. And she puts her hand under the bed, there's nothing there. Then the next night, she calls her dog, but she can't hear anything. And she checks under the bed, and when she reaches under the bed, she feels her dog licking her hand. She gets up in the middle of the night, and she feels all spookered, and she goes to the bathroom. When she goes to the background, she can hear something dripping.
Okay.
Here's where the story breaks down a little bit, and I don't remember the details, but she discovers her dog hanging in the shower, and his throat's been cut.
So then what?
And then there's a note, and I don't know how she reads the note, but I was very young when I heard this, and the note just said, "People have tongues too."
So she put her hands under the bed and it does lick her fingers, but then she goes to the bathroom anyway and she realizes the dog is dead. So what licked her fingers?
What did the note say?
People lick too.
People have tongues too.
Yeah. Okay, I've got one more, and this is one I just remembered, and I think I blocked it out for the last like 22 years of my life. I was about 7 or 8 when I was told this story, and it fucked me up. I was on holidays in Spain, And
Holidays are bad for urban
yeah,
myths.
and so
You meet other bold children.
yeah. So you meet other kids, and it's like brighter there, so you end up hanging out with them until like about 8 to 9 o'clock, and all of a sudden it starts getting dark, and people start telling each other spooky stories. So this one kid was like, you know that here off the coastline there's a fish that, like, if you like pee in the ocean, the fish will like travel up your stream and go into you and lay eggs inside you.
What?
I think that now, I'm not joking. I think there's an episode of Around the Twist about that.
That's probably where he got it from. Okay, but then it gets worse. So he's like, it lays eggs in you and it causes all your bones and internal organs to turn to jelly. And so what happens is you go to the bathroom and you do a poo that sounds like this. And I'm like, oh fuck. And you look down and like there's like bones in the toilet. And I was like, oh my god. But like the thing is, you don't die right away. It takes about 3 poos for you to die. So it means you get to say goodbye to everyone. But like it's really sad. And I started crying.
That's pretty bad.
Isn't that the most? That's fucked up.
Yeah,
That's so
that's
fucked up. I love how kids like will just escalate something. Like, it's not just bad that a fish like got up there. It just keeps on going.
I like the thing I like there is that like the noise of the poo is kind of, that's just as bad as your bones turning into jelly and you dying.
Yeah, like you know, if you do something that sounds like that, there's something wrong.
Welcome to the Let's Fight a Boss video game conversation show.
Hey,
Or as I like to call it, the world's strongest video game podcast. I am sitting here with two of the creepiest individuals I have ever met. To my left, known simply as the Baron, hailing from Transylvania, it's the Spook Boss, Neve.
Hello.
And to my right, the man with all the world's darkest secrets, the information overlord who knows things that would turn your blood to ice, the Blood Chancellor, Brian.
I'm here to give you chills.
And with you always, I'm your host, John. So yeah, Halloween. We're here, we're doing it. It's a Halloween special. We didn't really plan the episode very well, so we have very little Halloween content.
It's fine. We put out a video. People will get over it.
We put out a super spooky video on our YouTube channel, so please go watch our horror-themed mukbang. Part of that description is inaccurate,
Yeah.
but there you go. It's annoying because like I love telling our ghost stories on our Halloween episode. I feel like we've probably kind of told them all.
Yeah, I haven't gone through.
No,
Any
nothing
experiences?
significantly spooky has happened to me. Although, I got two things. I went out this morning. I swear to God, this morning.
How convenient.
I went out onto my balcony and I looked up, and there was a dead bird floating in the air.
Was it over a vent?
So
What?
our building has like
They're anti-seagull protectors.
anti-seagull protectors, and they're like these giant kite-looking things.
Yeah.
One of them, or at least the string to one, had become like tied around a tree far away, and I think like a pigeon flew into it and like snapped its neck or something. And so I just go out, and for like 5 seconds I'm looking up at this thing being like, oh, that's not right. But then I see the string and I'm like, oh fuck, okay. Do you ever have that moment though where you're like, oh, now hang on, this
Gravity isn't working.
Yeah, because I had a real bad case of something similar on my holidays as well. I was out on my own, which was a mistake because, direction. And I went back to my hotel after a while, and this is in Tenerife, which I just got back from. It was a very nice, relaxing holiday. But to go back to my hotel, you have to kind of walk through this sort of how would I describe it? Like kind of a pool area. And so I go back into my hotel, and like the layout's a little confusing, like it's kind of weird. But I go in and it's nearly completely empty. I think I maybe see one other person in this huge big hall, and I'm like, what the fuck? And so I go up the stairs, and like this is all in this big stone lobby, and I'm walking around, and the stairway to go up to my hotel room isn't there. And I go around again. I go around like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, what?
I hate that feeling.
The fuck? Like to the point where you're frustrated, but you're also getting like a little like, oh, this is weird. And so I go, okay, look, I'm just gonna go back to the reception because I know my way from there. Like, it's a big hotel, but I know my way from the reception. I go to the exact spot the reception is. There is no reception.
Are you in the wrong hotel?
Hey. I go to leave out the front door. It doesn't fucking open. And when that happens, I have that moment where I'm like, oh my god, I'm here. Silent Hill. My transgressions have caught up with me. What eventually happens, I make my way out of the haunted, empty ghost hotel, and I discover that at a right angle to my hotel is another identical empty hotel that they occasionally use for overflow guests. So the layout is nearly exactly the same, except there's no staff there and a tiny amount of people working there. Is that not the weirdest shit? Like, that to me implies there's some weird secret cult or like a laboratory in the basement or something like that.
Or there was a tourism boom and they built too many hotels.
That I don't think that's feasible, Neve, honestly. Like,
no, definitely ghosts.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad we figured that one out together. Have either of you checked out any spooky media?
I guess we watched some horror films in anticipation of this podcast.
I asked Brian to try out 3 horror films.
And I was like, and I went on Google and I looked at like a list. And I looked at the films I'd never seen and recommended those ones to Neve.
He sure did. So I watched The Ritual, and it was basically 4 lads go on holidays and
Perfect.
Toxic masculinity kills them.
Yes. I was going to kill them one way or the other.
And I was like, Brian, that's not a great movie. And you were like, oh, I might watch it then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thanks for the recommendation. I'm going to check this out.
It's like a British one, and it's literally like 4 lads out drinking pints. They kind of, when I say toxic masculinity kills them, I mean it in the sense that like they don't seem to like each other or be friends, but are kind of friends.
I feel like that's a big problem with a lot of movies starring like guy casts. They always write them like they fucking hate each other.
It's so weird. And like, so what happens is the lads are all out drinking, and there is like 5 of them, and they go into an off license, and there's a mugging, and 2 of the guys are in there. One of the guys gets held up in the mugging, and the other guy hides. The guy who gets mugged gets hit on the head with a baseball bat, and he's just dead instantly. Before he died was like, we should go on a lads holiday where we go camping or like hill walking or mountain walking. He wanted to do something really outdoorsy. So then it cuts to the 4 remaining friends in the Swedish woods, I think. And they're kind of doing it for him. They brought a photo of him, and they're like, oh, he would love to hear, kind of thing. And for the whole time, they're kind of snarking at each other.
How long is this after the first guy's death?
It cuts, like it's cut, and they go into it. It's all their conversation. They never have a nice conversation with each other, not one single time. And I'm like, why would you go on holidays with people you clearly hate?
Me and Brian have never had a nice conversation.
No, we've never had a heart-to-heart.
No.
One of the guys hurts himself, and the main guy leading them is just like, oh, he's just a faker who just fakes it all the time. You know, we can push him harder. He's just a whinger. And the guy was like, yeah, totally. So they keep pushing him, and the guy's leg is swelling up, and then they try to take a detour through woods that they don't know of. And the guy's like, should we take detour? And he's like, yeah, it'll be fine. And they're just trying to one-up each other all the time until they end up in a cabin where there's an effigy of a wooden figure in the attic. And then they go, all right, let's sleep here. They all fall asleep, and they all wake up, and something weird has happened to each one of them during the night. One of them is in a corner and he's still dreaming, and he's woken up and he's just like pissed himself and he's just like terrified. He's seen something. The other guy is standing out in the woods and he has this big puncture hole in his chest. And then it's just like back into toxic masculinity again, where they try and talk to each other about what happened, and they're like, no, it was nothing, lads, it's grand, it's fine, nothing happened. Absolutely fine, just not a thing. And like they're just ignoring that they're all bleeding and peeing on themselves, and just for what? I don't know why, they just do.
Neve, you're kind of selling me on this. Like, I kind of want to see this.
No, it's kind of fun. Like, it's interesting because I think the idea is like there's like a spirit in the woods, and it's kind of showing them their greatest fears. And where this film falls down is we don't actually discover some of the other characters' fears. They just have those dreams, but we kind of focus on 3. The main character seems to be the main character because he suffered more for some reason, but his suffering is that he feels guilt for... So it doesn't really go anywhere thematically, but at the end it does go places visually, which I wasn't expecting at all. It's like there's something in the woods and it looked cool, and I was like, that is a really unique and ballsy design to put in a film like this.
Okay.
Neve, is it a girl?
Maybe it's 2.
Maybe
there's a really short one.
This is great.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a cautionary tale for, like, you know, growing up, men who are growing into, or, you know, young men need to watch this movie and like cop on.
I feel like it's there, but it's not a comment on it. I think that's just the dialogue they chose, and maybe there is a comment
I
on
find
it.
like that is, yeah, because
Yeah.
I always remember watching Hangover 1 and enjoying it because I thought, like, yeah, these guys are friends. Like, these guys actually do kind of feel like friends. And then I watched Hangover 2 and they're just awful to each other constantly. And I thought, like, a lot of the appeal of the first film was just gone.
It's a weird decision to make, and it's just like, I would be so much more invested if you guys cared about each other's safety instead of kind of just hating each other, because it made all of them individually unlikable as well.
No, I have that problem constantly with, like, guy ensemble casts.
Yeah, at least with something like, what was a film we watched last year with the teenage boys?
Super Dark Times.
Super
Yeah,
Dark
they
Sti-
felt like friends.
Yeah, because in that they're hugging each other
Yeah,
and
yeah,
really
yeah.
like, you know, asking each other, are they okay?
Yeah, and like shit went wrong, but shit went wrong because shit went wrong, not because they hated each other.
Yeah, and like we actually ended up comparing it to that, me and my girlfriend, after we watched it, because it's like, it feels like that, where it is friends who've gotten themselves in way too deep, but one is just like actual real male friendship, and then the other one is just like this semblance of what people think it is or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah, like I think it's a larger problem with the way people tend to write. I think people are scared to write guy characters as like vulnerable or friendly or just liking each other. Like it has to be,
Or not liking sports.
yeah.
Just shit like that. Like, badly written male character is someone who likes sports and has a pint.
These all love sports and they all had pints.
And like if you don't like sports, that's the character trait that defines you.
Fuck that.
It's an hour and a half long, and it's on US Netflix, I think, for some reason, even though it's a British...
Netflix.
Yeah, it's not on
That's
Netflix.
our Netflix.
Our Netflix.
It sounds interesting because at the end of the day, they're just a bunch of lost boys.
That's a film I watched.
Brian has been really super excited to unload on Lost Boys.
Sure am.
Didn't even
Yeah.
intend that till halfway through, and I'm so happy with it.
Yeah, alright, let me just tidy that up a bit. Lost Boys is a 1987 film directed by Joel Schumacher. It stars both Coreys. It's a great film.
What do you mean by both Corey?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Corey Haim and Corey Feldman star in this film.
I'm not any the wiser.
Yeah, like, but he's not the real main... Who's the main character in it?
The main character... Okay. Alright, I'll take a step
Neve,
back.
I feel like you're messing up a rehearsed flow that Brian's been kind of working on here.
I just think it's weird to be the Lost Boys stars Corey's when, like, it has big name dude.
Yeah, it's Kiefer Sutherland in
Yes,
it.
there we go, Kiefer Sutherland. I just...
He's barely in the film, to be honest.
Isn't he the vampire prince?
Pretty much. Okay, so it's about a recently divorced mother and her two teenage sons, and they go to Santa Cruz or something like that. It's a fake made up version of Santa Cruz.
I love fake American towns.
I think it's called like Santa Clara or something like that. And it's like it's a beach city, and it's a murder capital. And they go there, and it's got a boardwalk with like an amusement park and outdoor rock bands. And it's like the height of summer before school starts again, and they're just kind of getting used to the environment. And there's two brothers. There's Michael, who's played by Robert Patrick, who was in Speed 2, and the younger brother, who I will just refer to as Corey Haim, because he's fucking brilliant, and I think he's the main character, because all Michael does is Michael likes a girl, and then characters keep saying Michael a lot.
Yeah, the main character.
They keep going like, Michael, hey Michael, come here, hey Michael. Michael.
Yeah, I do remember. Michael.
They say Michael like 200 times in that film. And then, like, his younger brother Corey has got, like, I don't know what the fuck he's wearing, and his mouth constantly open, because I think a lot of the actors were on drugs during this movie. Like, a lot of them were, like, teenage actors, but they were, like, blazing out on whatever they had going, and arcade machines, and they were just having a fucking time of their lives. Like, the bit at the start where they go to see a rock show, and it's just an oiled up shirtless man with chains around his neck playing a saxophone, and everyone's just going fucking mental.
That sounds deadly. That sounds brilliant.
It's so good. And like and there's two guys like holding hands with each other with like a fire pit in front of them, and they're going fucking nuts. And then Michael notices a girl off in the distance, and he's like, whoa, and then he follows her. But then it turns out there's other guys, and they all have mullets, and they're led by Kiefer Sutherland, and they're the Lost Boys. And so there's Kiefer Sutherland, aka Punish Venom Snake, and then there's one of the guys from Bill and Ted that isn't Keanu Reeves, and just two other guys that could just be like miscellaneous male models, and they're just forever sexy teens. And I think that's a big kind of pull with this film, is that vampire movies up until that point were kind of like, the vampires were always like old creepy 1,000-year-old monsters, but in this it's like they're old but they're trapped in youth form, and it's the idea that a vampire could be young and endearing and kind of captivate you that way with their
rock and roll lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it, like, for the time, that's a really cool take on such a kind of tired.
And like Buffy the Vampire Slayer 100% borrows from this film, because like it's got that thing where like the vampires just look like human people, whatever, but when they go into vampire mode they vamp out, and all of a sudden they have like the furrowed brow and the fangs, just like they do in Buffy. And like Spike from Buffy is like completely based on these characters. But then I was kind of like remembering who directed it. It's Joel Schumacher, and he directed Flatliners, he directed Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and you're like, there's a lot of homoerotic subtext in this film, where these are people who are transient youths who live on the fringes of society, and there's 4 male vampires, and they have a female vampire and a young kid vampire that are kind of like halfway turned into vampires. None of them have any interest in the girl vampire. Just the 4 guys are very much like their own family unit.
If your vampire film doesn't have some homoeroticism, you're doing vampires wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the version of vampires that are just like, everything's cool, man.
Yeah. and so Kiefer Sutherland's character, who's called David, like, is super into wanting Michael to be a vampire with them. And like, he uses the girl as like, you know, you can spend time with her, but you know, really you're spending time with us.
You know, I had a friend as a teenager who was really into this movie, and looking back at that friend, I am nearly 100% he was gay, and this is really making that add up.
Yeah,
like it was probably a metaphor for a lot of what he was going through.
And he kept showing it to me and being like, look, and he'd be like, do you want to watch Lost Boys again? And I'd be like, no,
But like, I love
had some confusing encounters with that young gentleman.
I really loved watching this film growing up, and I've watched it a couple of times at like sleepover parties with me and other guys, and like we were all like, this film is fucking brilliant, because like, especially in the second half, it just turns into Home Alone, when like,
oh yeah,
because like in the second half they just sort of set up the house because they know the vampires are going to attack, and they've been invited in and they're going to like bust through, but they like fill up super soakers with holy water and just set up loads of pranks, and it gets real slapstick. And that's kind of when like the younger brother who meets the Frog Brothers, who were just these two guys who work in a comic book shop, and so one of the brothers is played by Corey Feldman, and he's just pretending to be Rambo. And it's really of its era because it takes place in 87, but there's like posters up for like the Breakfast Club. Like I think one of the characters has like a shirtless picture of Rob Lowe on their bedroom wall.
Nice.
Just for no reason at all. And they have like an Echo and the Bunnymen poster. But then the vampires have like a poster of the guy from The Doors in their cave.
I think the Doors do a song for that. People Are Strange.
They do.
Yeah.
But then it's covered by Echo and the Bunnymen, and that's
weird.
and yeah, like the soundtrack's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. Even though they're like 6 years apart, I always felt like the Lost Boys and the Warriors are very like cut from a similar cloth.
Oh yeah,
Very like 80s movies exaggerated to the point that they're nearly cartoons.
You could definitely
But
show
not for
those.
kids.
Yeah, like I think you could show both of those as like a midnight movie back to back.
Yeah.
Everyone would be down with it.
Totally.
I think if you haven't seen this movie, you should definitely check it out. It's aged super well, and if you just want to see like a time capsule of the late 80s, this is the film.
Yeah, I've wanted to go back and watch it for ages, but it was that thing where like I was watching it with someone who was really into it, and they'd be like looking at me for my reaction. And you know that you can't really like get into a film when someone's doing that.
No.
Leather pants are on screen.
Oh man. Huh. But yeah, that sounds really cool. You said you had some trivia prepared, Brian.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of more trivia.
Okay, we'll let you off.
Well, I guess it's just the two Coreys thing, because that was like...
Who are the two Coreys?
It was something they used to do in The Simpsons where Lisa was really into Corey. And it wouldn't
Yeah.
be like which Corey, but it was just like, it's a generic Corey, because that's the joke. But like there actually was a Corey hotline where you could ring up and talk to Corey. And it was just like pre-recorded audio of like Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
Really?
That
Yeah.
is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Surely that's on YouTube.
It is. It's on YouTube.
Oh fuck! Okay.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it again. But it's like a really old VHS rip of like the Corey ad.
Guess what? Corey Haim and Corey Feldman are giving out their personal numbers. If you call 1-900-909-3700, you can listen to their private phone messages and get their personal number where you can leave them a message of your own. $2 the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. Ask your parents before you call.
Neve, tell us about House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill. That's not what it's called.
Nope, not
No,
at all.
It's The Haunting of Hill House, because I thought originally it was a hill with a haunted house on it, but the family who owned the house were the Hill family. And I was like, that's confusing.
That's so confusing.
Like Hank Hill.
Hank Hill.
Dang it,
So-
House.
This is a Netflix series that is 10 episodes long, and a lot of people are talking about it as being really scary, which it's not. But what it is a really good family drama that happens to have a ghost house and some ghosts in it.
Like the film Ghost.
It deals with a family who flips houses. Move into a house, the father does it up and he sells it. He moves into Hill House with his wife and his 5 children, 3 girls and 2 boys. The series jumps between them back at the time they move into the house and them as adults. The casting is great. They really look like each other across the generations. So as this show goes, it starts with the kids in the haunted house kind of seeing stuff. So these are like 6 years old now, and they'll like see a woman standing in front of their bed. And they're trying to explain to their mom and dad that they're seeing these things. The mom kind of seems like she's been a ghost from the start. Her costuming is really long robes and dressing gowns, and that's all she seems to wear. Something happens where they all need to leave, and then it flashes to forward, and it keeps cutting back to them as children, them as adults, them at different stages in their lives where they've rubbed up against the house again, or what came with them from the house. It turns into a drama in the sense that it's about all these siblings dealing with grief. So they all saw something weird in the house, and one of them becomes a really manic depressive and the other becomes an addict. The older brother has a real chip on his shoulder because he's the only one in the family who never saw a ghost, and he hates that, so he writes a book about the family's experience at the house to sell it, even though everyone else really doesn't want him to do it. Episode 1 to 5, it's a haunted house thing with kids afraid of ghosts. 5 to 8 is adults and siblings dealing with trauma. So you have like 5 adults in a room arguing with each other over the death of a family member and who was at fault and who could have done stuff. And then it ramps up again to haunted house.
Like, some of the stuff you're kind of describing, like, I know you're saying like it's not scary. Does it have like horror leanings? Like, are the ghosts like, hello young child? Or is it actual like spooky ghosts?
No, spooky ghosts. Like, you will, like, it is a horror. Like, at the start, like, there's jump scares. So there'll be like a face will appear or stuff like that.
Okay.
But they're mostly fake out jump scares where the music will build and you think you might see a face in a window, but it'll be a light switched on or something like that. It'll just be like... So it does go heavy on the whole, like, this is a haunted house, and, you know, you kind of see something in a reflection, or you see something behind a door, or a statue's head will have moved. They definitely lean into that in the first episodes. And, like, it's always there, but I just don't... It feels less about the actual ghosts and more about the family dealing and trying to... Basically, they're trying to understand what they think they saw. You know what I mean? Like, they...
That sounds really interesting. And actually... Do you know the Amityville house?
Yes.
Do you ever follow up the people, the family that used to live there? Their lives like fell apart after that house.
Like, I'm saying this as if it's really intense and stuff. It is really cheesy and it's so easy to watch. Like, I binged this all in a day. I think the color grading's a bit on the spooky end of things, you know, where everything gets cold and you don't really know what time of day it is ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just very easy to watch and surprisingly fun.
That sounds cool. Yeah, I'm looking for a new TV show because I finished like every season of Dragon's Den on Netflix. Still the greatest reality TV show of all time. Learned so much. That sounds great, Neve. That sounds really, really good.
Yeah, I'm very curious to watch this now.
Yeah.
Neve, you're watching all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
I haven't been watching much. I was on holidays, so I caught up on some podcasts. And there's 2 new seasons of 2 podcasts I listened to before. And the first is Serial. And I really ended up not liking Serial. I thought the first season had like a great first episode, and then after that they just stretched it out and it just became less and less interesting as it went on, and then I just was not into season 2 because I didn't care. The new season is a really different format. It's not like one continuous story. What it is it's about the American court system, and it is each episode deals with different cases and different judges and like the different approaches each judge will have to a case, or just like it kind of takes the process of like, you know, criminal prosecution and looks at it from every angle. And it's really entertaining and interesting, but it also really goes into like how stacked the deck is against the defense. Like, there's all these tools that prosecution have to basically kind of maneuver someone into taking time for a crime, even if they had very little to do with it. And it really shows like a lot of the kind of, I guess, injustices in the justice system. And I feel like I'm making it sound very dry. It's not. It's very entertaining, and I think it's the best Serial has been. And it feels meaningful. Like, I come away thinking about the cases and being like, shit, that isn't right. You know, that kind of way.
Is it the same host?
Yep. Sarah Koenig, is that
Yeah.
her name? Yeah. And I'm much preferring this because she's a little more removed from it. I felt like she got like too involved in that first season, and it got kind of, for me, it got kind of weird.
No, I agree. I think it totally did. It really became about her relationship with the other guy in season 1, so it's cool that she's more removed from this.
Yeah, and it's good as well because she's also, there's one episode and she just has this massive argument with like a police chief, and you know the police chief is real. He's real, you know, on the side of the police, understandably, but to such a unrealistic, unfair degree where he'll basically be like, it's not possible for police brutality to be a thing, like that kind of shit, and she'll push back on that. And like it's really interesting to hear both perspectives, but I did respect her for kind of like how in on some of this stuff she goes, and so really worthwhile. And the other one is a podcast I've talked about before called Heavyweight. And Heavyweight is like one of my favorite podcasts. It's a Gimlet Media podcast, and what it is basically the host finding people and like going back to like a major defining moment of someone's life where, like, you know, something big happened that maybe affected them. They maybe either want to investigate or they want to catch up on. So like, for example, the first episode is about a celebrity friend of his. I didn't know who the celebrity was. I'm sure Brian would. I think he starred in The Rock with something recently.
Kevin Hart?
No.
That could be like 50 people.
Yeah, in fairness. But the guy's daughter breaks her arm, and this actor's daughter breaks her arm, and she breaks her arm by tripping over a log. And he's like, that's so weird. That's exactly how I broke my arm when I was little. And so he sends this photo of like his girl with the cast to his family, and like to, you know, a WhatsApp group of his brother, his sister, his mother, and his father. And he's like, oh, she broke her arm tripping over a log, just like I did when I was her age. And then they all text him back, and they're all like, what are you talking about? And he's like, when I broke my arm when I was little. And they're all like, you did not break your arm. And he's like, it gets kind of, you know the way sometimes like exchanges with your family over memory get really intense? It gets like that. And so then he gets this guy, Jonathan Goldstein, to basically investigate, did I break my arm? Because this was like 30 years ago. And so he has no real way to prove it. And towards the middle of the episode, he's like, oh my God, did that happen? Because he has all these really specific memories from it, but his entire family is like, that never happened. And so it's looking into whether it happened or not. And it's really interesting. And it's like, you know, layered under that is the actual dynamics of the family and them all kind of like closing ranks and being like, you didn't break your arm. And it's really interesting. I think especially if someone has brothers or sisters, this episode would really kind of resonate with them. And then like another one real quick is like, this girl had 4 best friends when she was growing up, and they were all tight as could be. One morning she hears stuff and she looks out her window, and her 4 best friends are TPing her yard.
No.
And when she comes outside, they wrote "fuck you" on her garage. And she never speaks to them again, never finds out what they did. This episode is about her getting back in contact with them and finding out why they did that.
Fuck.
So the podcast is called Heavyweight. This is the 3rd season. Every season of it is good. It has very few bad episodes. If you want like a kind of surrogate for, do you remember Mystery Show?
Yeah.
It's probably not. Well, some episodes I'd say are as, they kind of do different things, I guess. But it's like, this is kind of a surrogate for Mystery Show. If you love that show, nearly guaranteed you will like this. Jonathan Goldstein, the guy behind it, he's like this kind of 48-year-old guy, and he's really nerdy and awkward, and he's really funny. Like he has a really awkward charm to him, you know. Could not recommend it enough. And with that, let's move in to some strategy talk. Okay, I'm going to start things off here because I've been playing a game for a while now. And it's like, Brian, how long ago did you lend me Virtue's Last Reward?
It would have been February 2014.
February 2014. So I've had this game for 4.5 years, and over the course of those 4.5 years, every time I go on holiday, I take it with me and I play a little more. This is the sequel. It's like a visual novel, so it's the sequel to the game 999, which I was a huge fan of. I love 999. Super interesting game. And Virtue's Last Reward never really got me in the same way. The scenario and stuff was a lot more complicated, and I never really understood what the game was going for. But on my recent trip, I spent a lot of time playing this game, and it's really interesting. So the way this game works is it's kind of divided into 2 sections. There's like room escape sections, but then there's this other thing called the Ambidex game. And so basically you got to do these room escapes, and there's 9 characters. You're all trapped in this location, and you have to pick like sets of characters to decide who's going to go into this room with you and help you get out. But then once you get through the room escape section, you go into the Ambidex games, and this is like this weird kind of psychological. There's like a lot of writing in real life about this kind of thing. It started off as this thing called the prisoner's dilemma, and what this is if you take, say, two people commit a crime and then they get arrested by the police, they'll get brought into different cells, and the standard procedure for police to get these two people to betray each other is like, okay, if you confess to this crime, you're going to get 1 year and your friend's going to get 15 years. But if you both don't confess, you're both going to get 10 years. And the Ambidex game is the same kind of sentiment. Everyone has a points value in Virtue's Last Reward. Everyone starts off at 3 points. So, and if your points drop below 0, you die. You have this bracelet on, it injects poison in you. And in the Ambidex games, I'm sorry if this is confusing, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. In the Ambidex games, you and the people you did the room escape with are brought into separate rooms, and from there you have the option to pick ally or betray. If you both pick ally, you both get 2 points, but if one person picks ally and one person picks betray, the person who betrayed gets 3 points and the person who allied loses 2 points. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if you both pick betray, you both get 0 points. So you're never going to lose points by picking betray. But what it means is you're in all these really interesting scenarios where, like, say you're paired up with 3 people and you're all talking and you're like, okay, we're all going to pick ally, no question, it's fine. Then you and one of the three will go into the room, so it's you two versus the one person. The second you get into the room, the person you're with turns around and goes, we're going to betray that fucker, right?
No!
And it leads to some really amazing scenarios. One of my games was against a comatose child. He had gotten a disease during the game, and so he had to do the game like by himself, which means he was going to default to ally. And I had 6 points, so if I betrayed him, I'd have 9 points, and 9 points is what you need to get out of the game. And it's really fucking, it's cool, and it's really weird and interesting, and like, sometimes you're going to go into a scenario and be like, I'm definitely going to betray this person. Then they take you aside, and the game's really well written, like the characters are really good, and the character will explain really thoroughly to you why you shouldn't betray them, and you're going to be like, yeah, then they fucking betray you. And it's like, it's really cool. The problem is that it takes a lot of work to kind of get to the heart of this game. Like the room escape sections, they're really fucking hard. And like, I'm kind of a dum-dum, so I'm sure most people would probably have an easier time with these than I would, but they are very, very difficult. But I think everything I've said up till now is all stuff I knew about this, but what really ended up selling me on the game is as like I hit the 20-hour mark, the kind of weird meta of this game started to show itself, and like it's fucking fascinating, honestly. So, you know the way I've described all this stuff, like with choosing people to go into different rooms, going into different rooms, and the Ambidex games. What this means is basically you start at a point at the top, and then it's like a tree of all your different decisions that all branch off into different endings. There's like 25 endings to this game. And so there's, you know, parallel timelines. There's when you betrayed this person but not this person, when you went into this room with this person, all these different scenarios. And I'm gonna get like a little spoilery conceptually here because I really want people to understand how fucking cool this game is. But there's one instance where I was with a girl and, you know, she was like, okay, we're both gonna ally. And I was like, yeah, we'll ally. And I betrayed her. And so then, you know, I played that path through to its ends, and then I went back to the point where, like, you know, the path split and I could have allied. Except this time I allied with her because I wanted to see the other ending. But she didn't ally this time. She betrayed. And I was like, what? Because usually you can tell. And she goes, yeah, I betrayed you because you betrayed me the first time. And you're like, wait, what?
Whoa.
And it's like, yeah, and it's like, what ends up happening is you start learning that some characters in the game can tell what's happening in the other branches and judge your actions off that. And then you start to learn that your character can do that. and where this kind of it forms this really cool meta puzzle, because in some scenarios, like, you'll find some medicine on like a timeline, you know, way over from where you are, you'll find like a piece of medicine, but then in another timeline your character will need that medicine. But if you've already experienced where the medicine is, your character in the game starts being like, wait, I know where that is somehow, because he can like, the knowledge he has from all the timelines you've already done stays with him. And it's so fucking interesting because you can take the timelines in any order and it gets really like weird and trippy, but kind of amazing. Like, I've never seen games touch concepts like this. Like, there's some kind of like probably like, I don't think it's like as, I don't know how to put it, profound as something like Automata, but there is senses where I'm like, man, I never thought video games could do this shit. And it's really fucking cool. So like, if you are okay with putting the work in, like, and you will have to sit through a lot of text and you'll have to solve a lot of really tough puzzles, it's been really great. And I'm completely turned around and I'm like, okay, this is an amazing sequel. Like, I think this is one of those sequels that takes everything that the predecessor did and just completely surpasses it, and it's so fucking cool. And yeah, if you have any kind of patience for visual novels, really check this out. And I can't wait to check out the sequel to this one. I don't remember its name. Do you, Ryan?
Can't remember. Something with a clock.
I have no idea if you two guys would like this. I have a feeling I don't think either of you really would.
It's my game and I lent it to you.
Yeah, well, I don't. This is definitely not one you think.
I think
like.
it sounds cool, but it's just the visual novel aspect
and, like,
that really.
You can't even.
It's a slog.
You can't even watch a Let's Play or anything, because like, are you gonna watch a Let's Play of a visual novel? Yeah, but fuck, it's really, really good. There's some gross anime shit in it I don't like. Sometimes like the main character gets really like lewd with the girls in a way that's not like natural or funny or anything. It's just shit. And bits like that really take me out of it, and that sucks, because other than that, it's such a great package. So yeah, I would totally recommend it if anyone's been on the fence for that. The game's been out for fucking ever, but...
Is it on 3DS? Is that what you're playing it on?
I'm playing it on Vita because the Vita version has a really great English dub. And people should check out the character Zero Jr. He's a little porcelain rabbit, and he makes all these like little rabbit puns. He's like, how is every bunny? But the voice actor commits to it so hard, and it's such a bizarre, amazing performance that it really sells the character. So yeah, kind of loving this game. Can't wait to continue with the series after this.
Yeah, I think it's on PS4 as well. The 3DS version is meant to be avoided because it has a game-breaking bug in it.
Great.
If this game broke, if my data was erased, I'd be fucking furious, because I do not want to have to go through all this shit again.
Apparently the Vita version is sound. It's all good.
But yeah, it's a really great game, and there's so many weird little mysteries. There's a character in it, and he's like in this giant suit of armor. He doesn't know who he is, and he doesn't know when he put the armor on, and he has insomnia, so you don't even know if he's human. He could be like a robot, and I'm so fucking excited to find out like what's in the armor. And also, one of the characters is the bad guy. Like, it's confirmed that one of them is Zero, the person who trapped you in the Zero Escape game. I'm gonna shut up about it now. Super fucking cool game.
Cool game for a cool guy.
Cool game for cool guy. Brian, tell us about your cool game for cool guys.
I finished Pikmin 3. That's a cool game for a cool guy. I never said the name of the main characters last time I spoke about it.
No.
Okay, roll call. We got the captain, aka Charlie.
Nice.
Whose face looks like a peach, like an ass, and he has a cute little mustache, and his most important thing in the world is his rubber duck, and it's a big giant rubber duck. We have Brittany, who is she has pink hair and pink glasses and a pointy nose, and she fucking hates the other two. And she thinks they're idiots, but she's the biggest fucking idiot. And then the last guy, who is playable in Smash as a echo character to Olimar.
Oh, really?
Is Alf, and Alf has the fear of God in his eyes. He is constantly.
He does, yeah.
He's just constantly looking at people with his eyes wide open, and he's just shitting himself.
You assigned us. You said that we were like them.
Neve, when she did the art card on the YouTube thumbnail,
I don't ever get an opportunity to switch those out, but that one felt like it.
Yeah,
It
totally.
worked.
You nailed it. Alpha's amazing because whenever you finish a day, the spaceship goes up into space because it's not safe to be on that planet at nighttime. And Alf's just looking out the window, and he just looks. He's having 10 different existential crises at the same time.
I think I can relate to that.
Yeah, he's brilliant. The final boss of that game is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen.
Whoa.
Okay, it is literally an alien. And I mean in that it is not something we are familiar with on our own planet. The final boss, I don't mind spoiling this game from 2013, it's fine. Final boss is Captain Olimar from the first two games. His spaceship, the SS Dolphin, which is the prototype name for the GameCube, which is pretty cool. Crash lands on this part of the planet, and there is a monster that has like taken him in, and it also has consumed a hyperdrive cube, which means that it was this golden slimy blob, but now that it has this cube in it, it turns into so you go deep into the woods and you get Olimar and you retrieve him, but all of a sudden this golden blob starts chasing you, and you have to get this golden blob all the way out back to where you started to fight him there. But the golden blob turns into this weird abstract statue, and the closest thing I can compare it to is like Sakiel, or no, not Sakiel, the screaming cube in Evangelion,
Right.
Oh yeah.
where it builds itself up into this weird abstract humanoid thing with holes in it, like it's got a big cavity in it where a heart should be, and you kind of have to like throw Pikmin at it and break it down and then break up the blobs until one of the blobs forms an orb, and then over in there is a cube, and it starts screaming, and you have to use a different element to destroy the cube. But it's the weirdest, most abstract looking boss fight.
I love that. I love when bosses are geometric shapes, and I love when they're given organic noises. The servitors in Destiny moo like cows, and they're just orbs, and it's so good.
Yeah.
There's a guy in Berserk, and he's one of the demons. You know, like all the demons are like regular dudes, and then they have their demon transformation.
Yeah.
Most of them has turn into like big hairy monsters. This guy transforms into like this like ultra smooth kind of centaur thing that's just all like curved metal converging in points, and it really bothers me.
Yeah, because like this thing is a clean,
Yeah.
polished like being, and it doesn't look, but like it looks intimidating, even though it doesn't look like a conventional boss monster. And the fact that it has an abstract shape and its weak point is not a red glowing eye, it's a fucking magic cube. This is just, it's so unfamiliar what you're fighting that's kind of half the boss battle, is just like comprehending what you're trying to like take down, which is such a cool idea. And it's a real challenge to come up with something that out of nothing, but they've tapped into something in this like all age appropriate video game that really fucking gets to you.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really cool.
And so I also 100%ed it, so there's 66 pieces of fruit, and it's a lot of fun to collect them all. I've also watched speedruns of this game. They did one for Summer Games Done Quick back at the end of June, and they can beat it in under 55 minutes, which is amazing, because it's taken me like 10 hours to beat it. It's just a really, really fascinating game. Just because it's a real-time strategy, the way you'd have to do it is you have to multitask 3 different main characters, and the guy is doing it while also explaining how he's doing it. It's fascinating. So I just think it's a cool all-around package.
Cool.
That you get to appreciate it from all these different...
Is Pikmin 4 announced?
Pikmin 4 has been verbally announced as being in development, but it's never had any formal announcement.
Yeah.
But they've said that, like, yeah, we're making Pikmin 4. It's in, like, the final stages. Fuck that thing.
Yeah, fuck 'em.
I don't like those kind of monsters.
Yeah, that was the Berserk. That was the weird... We'll throw them in the thumbnail.
Yeah. There's just something really haunting about those creatures. So that spooked me real good at Halloween.
Neve, tell us how Assassin's Creed spooked you.
Bad LGBT representation.
Oh shit! No.
My greatest
The worst
fear.
ghost of all.
Yeah.
No.
So I was kind of, the last time I talked about this, it was kind of more glowing than not. I was kind of like, if you like Origins,
You were going to bat for that game.
yeah, if you like Origins, you should probably play Odyssey, because it is more of that. Which I still agree, it is more of that. And I'm kind of in two minds with this, where I'm enjoying being in the world, I'm enjoying playing the game. I enjoy Cassandra so much as a character. I think
seems fun.
she's really great, and the voice actor brings so much to her personality. I keep thinking about if I wasn't playing this game as a lesbian, like if I wasn't role-playing Cassandra as a gay character. Because if you weren't, if you decided to play this game as Cassandra as straight or Alexios as straight, all that's in this game is dead lesbians and tropes. I've come across a quest line where you have to find the body of a dead lesbian for some XP. Then I came across another quest line which I just could not comprehend. I did this mission for Antuza, this woman, and like we became friends at the end. After that main quest line, I meet this guy who wants me to kill Antuza's lover, a woman, because he wants to be with her but she doesn't want to be with him. I can only accept or decline. If I decline the mission, I get a full out mission fail, and I've never had a mission fail. I've managed to complete every mission in this. So I accept, assuming that I'll be able to talk to this woman and tell her what's happening.
Is a mission fail like that's a fail state?
Yeah, like
So-
it'll just be like I can no longer play that mission. I will not get any
Okay.
XP on it. I won't get any more cutscenes. That it's just that mission is now clean from my mission
Okay,
list.
gotcha.
So I accept the mission, hoping I can talk to her, which I've been able to do in other side missions where you'll kind of go see things aren't exactly what they're like. Can kind of use the dialogue system, which is the reason that this game is different than any of the other Assassin's Creed. That doesn't pop up. I only have the option to kill her. So I kill her. And I go back to him expecting some more story to play out from that. And he's just like, here's your money, and I have an option to let him join my crew. And that's the whole quest. The whole quest was to kill an unarmed lesbian who, like, and usually when I have to kill people, they are soldiers who'll fight me back, or I have to, like, go into a whole, like, fort to stealth kill them. And that's just what it was. And it was just so weird. Because, again, as I said, if I wasn't playing Cassandra as a lesbian, the only gay characters that I would run up to at this point, 40 hours in, is this woman I had to kill for XP, or the dead lesbian who was eaten by a shark as a joke. And
What?
yeah, the other side quest is like a pirate woman being like, my beautiful geeky, which is spelled Gyke, which is very close to another spelling but pronounced quite differently. She's gone missing. Can you find her? I go to the location to find her, and she's been eaten by sharks.
Steve, this is making me feel uncomfortable.
But this is where I'm at.
This is a weird game.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, if I'm not playing Cassandra and I haven't romanced Odessia or any of these things, the only way gayness has come up so far are these two quest lines where there's two dead lesbians, and these are like two like small quest lines out of all these loads of quest lines, but these specifically stand out as being weird because they're about LGBT characters. And then there's another main character in it who they conflate his like bisexuality with having sex with a goat.
That's
Gay
not what it
sex
means.
With bisexuality,
No, that's
bisexuality, with bestiality.
Yeah, no.
They're the only gay characters in it so far. And the reason why this is an issue, because some people might be listening to this being like, whatever. The reason this is an issue is after E3, they did a lot of push about there could be gay romances in this game. How there was gay representation in this game. And I know a lot of people who bought this game on the hopes that since BioWare was no longer including these kind of romance trees and dialogue trees, that this would be a game that would fill this kind of space. Especially since you could play as a male or female character in the same vein as kind of a Mass Effect.
Yeah, no, this was in their pre-release stuff,
Yeah.
and like in their pre-release game demos, like a big part of it was like, check it out, we can get with this lady.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with that development team, or with the studio in general, they're proud that it's a people of many different backgrounds.
Certainly, and that's like kind of what they were pushing with the pre-release stuff. Later on, I know there's a character I can romance, like a female character I can romance as Cassandra. But I also heard there's also another dead lesbian storyline, so that would be 3 in the one game, which is kind of shocking, 'Cause
A
usually-
record, some
yeah,
might say.
you might get like usually 3 in 2 years across different games. But hey, here we are. So,
Here we are.
but that would be to me play to gay. I would have to play Cassandra as a gay woman to get that good representation. Anyone else playing this game, if they didn't want to go down this route with Cassandra, or they were playing Alexios and didn't want to go out through any gay storylines, would never see any gay content other than these really, really old and tired tropes. And that's kind of bumming me out a lot, because other than that, I like the game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I knew you were you were enjoying that one quite a bit.
Yeah,
That
this,
sucks.
This is just like they're playing a trick. It's a dirty trick.
It starts to feel mean at some stage. If you want to see any of these screenshots of these kind of scenes I'm talking about, like I've uploaded all of my complaints to Twitter.
Perfect.
Brian,
Yes.
tell us about September 1999.
September 1999 is a game that you can play in like 5 minutes, and I really like that about it.
Okay. I guess before we get into it, this is a free game. It takes 5 minutes to play. Me and Brian have both played it.
Yes.
Brian, do you recommend this game?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of like, eh. But, I mean, it's free and it has 5 minutes, so I really can't think of any reason you wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I think this is a really interesting experiment, and if you're curious, check it out.
Okay. We're now going to spoil shit.
Sure. Spoilers for the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Yep.
It's shot on VCR, and it's hyper realistic bedroom and hallway.
Looks fucking awesome.
Looks amazing, and it's in Forest 3. It has the little time code in the bottom left corner, and you're in the bedroom and you don't know where you are, and you inspect the room, and then you go out the door into the hallway, and you go back into the room, and it's the next day.
It's really interesting because like it says that it takes 5 minutes and 30 seconds to play. And I'm like, well, how do they make sure that everyone finishes at the same time? And what it is like the game has jump cuts, so it will actually like you have like 40 seconds to look around this very small environment, like 2 rooms.
Yep.
And then after 40 seconds elapse, it jumps forward and the situation in the rooms has progressed.
Yep.
And
Cool.
I thought that was really cool. Like, that happened and I was like, holy shit, that's such a good idea. Can't wait to see where this goes. And I guess my issue with it, like my disappointment, just because like once that happened I was like, oh, this is going to be so awesome. I felt like it didn't really do much with it.
No, I don't think they had any more resources than just what they had.
Yeah, and I can respect that. Like, this is basically a concept trailer.
Yeah.
And like I didn't have to pay any money for it. If I did, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
But what it kind of happens is like it turns out that I guess you're like a serial killer,
Yeah.
because like it jumps forward and there's like knocking on your door and you can see police sirens outside. It's all lit beautifully and modeled really well. But in the final cut, it's like, you start to see blood all over your apartment, and then in the final cut there's like a body bag on your bed, or like a person wrapped in a plastic sack. And it's like, whoa, fuck. But then that's the end of the game.
What do you have to do in those 40 seconds that you can look around the room? Like, do you have to interact with objects, or you just looking?
There's nothing to do.
You
You're literally exploring the environment.
You can't interact. You can only double click to zoom in on something and see the model in more detail. And there's a door that you go through from, so that swings open. That's the only thing that's it.
Yeah. And like, I don't mean to come across too harsh in it, because I think it is really impressive. And like, it is something I think people should check out. I guess just during those 5.5 minutes, my hopes went so high, and then it was like, oh shit, like it wandered into very standard horror territory.
Yeah.
But I think like an expanded concept of this could be amazing.
Yeah, sure. And like, it's cool that like I really enjoyed playing PT, and I missed what that could have been, and this is just kind of like a nice what if.
Totally.
That kind of complements that whole idea.
Yeah, and the guy who makes it is called 98DMake, and he's got a really cool YouTube channel where he like he'll like take a modern game and then make it look like it was like an early PlayStation 1 game. And some of the stuff is it's really interesting, because like I think like pixel, like, the thing like what if Breaking Bad was a 16-bit game? Like, that is so fucking tired, and I hate that. But seeing like new stuff remade in super limited with super like limited polygons, it looks amazing, and his channel's really cool.
There we go.
There we go. So guys, did you know the way Norman Reedus was going to star in Silent Hills?
Yes.
Yeah.
What if I told you that Norman Reedus is in an earlier Silent Hill game?
No way.
Way.
3?
Norman Reedus is in Silent Hill 3.
How?
He's on a magazine cover.
He's been there the whole
The
time.
whole time.
Yeah.
He was there the whole time. Kojima got us again. He fucking got us again.
What's the magazine cover for? Is
Oh,
it like
it-
a Playgirl?
The Boondock Saints.
No, it's just called, the magazine cover's just called Life. You can't actually see it very well in the original PlayStation 2 version, but I was playing an up-resed version of Silent Hill 3 on PC, and I was like, wait a fucking minute!
That's
And
pretty good.
it's so weird.
Norman Reedus has been in so many video games.
He's been in so many video games. But yeah, I've been playing Silent Hill 3. This is a game I've been meaning to revisit for a really, really long time. And I think Silent Hill 3 is like... It's really interesting because there's this weird problem with it. And the problem is that like Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2, both really successful horror games. But the issue is like the kind of... The Silent Hill each one of them present is nearly completely different. Like even the rules for even the rules for Silent Hill change. Like the way the monsters are treated is different. Their origins is completely different. Like Silent Hill 1 is a story about a town run by a cult. Silent Hill 2 is like this ephemeral nowhere city where kind of lost souls become trapped. And the problem with Silent Hill 3 is like, which of those Silent Hills do you go with? And they went with the town from Silent Hill 1. They went back to cult shenanigans as opposed to like emotional psychological torment, which I kind of feel like was maybe the wrong move. I love Silent Hill 2, but particularly I love the concept of a town, the kind of this weird place that you end up in once you've kind of sank into enough despair. And I think it's always kind of, that concept to me is like infinitely reusable, and I think Silent Hill would have fared much better as a series if they had gone that direction. But even that said, I've always really had a soft spot in my heart for Silent Hill 3. Neve, have you played 3?
I've only played bits of it, but I've never finished it.
Yeah.
You play as
What
Heather.
do you remember about it?
I remember liking it. I remember just Heather as a character and really, really liking her, but also being really scared.
Heather is really cool, and like it's not like the idea for her is like really crazy or like there's no James Sunderland-esque twists with Heather, but she's just like a really well conveyed character, and her design is like so awesome. And her voice acting by Heather Morris, and they named Heather after her, that actor, is like really exceptional. And it's this super cool weird survival horror game that's like, it takes like 6 hours to beat that game. You can beat it on like a lazy Sunday. And
Really? That felt so much longer when I was younger.
yeah, it's not a long game,
That's nuts.
but I think if you didn't know what you're doing, it might take a little longer.
2-disc PlayStation 2?
It's not 2-disc.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But like even on time to beat, it's like 6 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow.
And you can get that down to 4 hours. But
Wow.
it's really interesting. But it's like there's stuff about it that doesn't really work either. Like I've always kind of been of the opinion that the cult stuff in Silent Hill is kind of the least interesting part about it. I like the despair. And
It's a pity that they haven't been able to marriage those two things, because a cult built around a place, you know, that seems magical, or like there's this secret.
they've tried.
Yeah.
Like, and 3 is kind of an attempt at that, but it's a shame because like there's all this symbology in it that's like, I don't know how else to put this. It's really like menstrual, and a lot of it's really about like reproduction, and like, you know, you have these two, the whole game is like these two adult characters telling Claire what she should or should not do with her body, and like it's really interesting. But if you go just by the game's lore, it explains it in a way that's kind of takes it away from all that.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets to that point where I guess in a weird way, like, my own take on the game's story, I guess, is more appealing to me than the actual story.
Welcome to fan cannons.
Oh no, I finally arrived.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool game, and what I would say is also it's a game that Konami, in their infinite wisdom, have lost the source code for it. So I think if you want to download the PC version of Silent Hill 3 and patch it to make it like, you know, run at 1920 by 1086 frames per second, you are well within your rights. And I'm not gonna leave a link. I'm not gonna tell people how to do that. But you know, our audience is smart. Google is a thing, and it's a fucking cool game. Like, it looks so good for a game that was made like 15 years ago, and really enjoying it. We'll have more to say about it soon. And with that, we move into quick time events. Okay, this is a interesting little one. Witch's House is getting remade and is releasing on Steam October 31st.
Cool.
Witch's House is one of my favorite games ever. It's a weird RPG Maker horror game that I think is really a really effective horror game, despite the fact that it's just kind of sprites. This remake is super weird because it's like, it's not... What it looks like is that they... You know the way Witch's House looks like a Super Nintendo game?
Yep.
The remake looks like a slightly higher fidelity Super Nintendo game.
Maybe that's okay, because do you remember the Yume Nikki game that we all forgot about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it need a remake?
That's kind of my question. I don't think it does.
Yeah, if you're only pushing it that far.
And well, I guess what I'd
Is
say
the original game on Steam?
No.
That must be it then. It's
I
just
guess
it must
so.
be meeting some like technical requirement.
I don't think there is a technical requirement for
Or
Steam.
copyright requirement
Or
that
any
they have
actually
to change something.
Maybe, yeah. But I can't think of anything in that game that would trust. But yeah, I hope it's good because that game is fucking fantastic, and if more people can get their hands on it, that's brilliant. But I'll check it out and I'll report back. Neve, tell us about the Quiet Man theme song.
So I have alerts on for the Quiet Man because it's important.
Oh, it's
like,
a very important.
It's very
game.
important.
Because stuff like this just happens. So the Quiet Man is, they haven't released the song yet, but it's getting a theme from late 90s, early 2000s English singer Imogen Heap.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, like Fro, whatever. Imogen Heap is doing a song in
I own one of her
2018.
albums.
Same.
For the Quiet Man.
Yeah, for the Quiet Man. I didn't know she was still making music.
Oh, Imogen, you don't know what you're getting into.
No, she does not. But like, who makes that decision? Who puts that money up front? It's just like, we're Square Enix, we're making this like, we're publishing this 3-hour game about a deaf hero, Imogen Heap.
And like, it's also been described, like, I hear people talking about this game like it's a joke.
Yeah, I don't think they know that at all. And it's kind of fascinating, and it's so funny just the tone these things have, these updates have. This release about the song had like 2 puns about not being able to hear in it.
Oh, cool.
What?
Imogen Heap breaks the silence with original track The Quiet. Like, they're really like, are you ready to hear again? Like, it's so like, oh god.
What are you doing?
It's like,
It's just really interesting.
When's this game out?
It's out
November
1st or 4th or something.
Like,
It's
coming soon.
4th. Right on time for my birthday.
Yeah, I just think that like if you really want to experience a disability, this is the fucking game. This is the game that will handle it sensitively.
Okay, like, actually, I'm as excited for this game as I am for Red Dead Redemption 2.
I'm way more excited for this game than Red Dead 2.
And like, the truth is, I'm not that
Here.
pumped for either, but fuck it.
Yeah, no, Quiet Man's gonna be the game of the year.
Game of the year, Neve?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
fuck it. Well, now we just got to decide the other like 38. But Quiet Man has officially won Game of the Year. Congratulations. Oh, did you guys see the stuff about the N64 Mini leak?
Yeah, I saw one or two like
No.
up close high res photos of it.
Do you think that's real?
I don't know if it's real, but well, like, you know, this is all leak shit, so you don't really know, you can't really corroborate too much of it, but there's a potential game list that's been leaked that sounds to me lame enough to be accurate. Because a lot of the cool shit on the N64 is either licensed or tied up with Rare, and none of that shit is on this, which kind of makes me feel like this could be true. Do you want to hear the list?
Yeah.
Okay, we got 1080 snowboarding,
Yeah.
Bomberman 64,
Of course.
Donkey Kong 64,
Woo!
Excitebike 64, F-Zero GX. Brian, could you keep doing the reactions after each one, please?
I have no opinion of those two games.
Mario Golf,
Yep.
Mario 64,
Wahoo!
Mario Party 2,
Oh, that's the best. That's the cowboy one.
Mario Tennis,
That's Waluigi's first game.
Paper Mario,
Sure.
Pokemon Snap.
Fuck that.
I like this one, Sin and Punishment. Fuck yeah.
Whoa! And they're gonna be real fucking proud of that shit.
Yep. Star Fox 64. That game's legit great.
Yeah. That game's unreal.
Super Mario 64. I've never actually heard of that one. I don't know. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Wave Race 64.
Sure.
And Yoshi's Story.
Fuck that. God, you really miss Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, fucking don't you? Like, that list really needs
See,
Banjo-Kazooie.
That shit should have Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Jet Force Gemini,
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye,
Perfect Dark.
Conker's Bad Fur Day, like fucking
WWE No Mercy.
Mickey Speedway USA. We need all that shit packed in.
What was Mickey's speed? Legend of Goemon. Why does Legend of Goemon get snuffed every time? Snubbed, excuse me.
Diddy Kong Racing.
Eh.
No, I want you get the Taj is in it.
Who's Is that the elephant?
Yeah, he's got a magic carpet.
I was never a Diddy Kong Racing guy, despite the fact I'm a Diddy Kong guy.
John's a real Diddy guy. if you
I'm
know.
a Diddy Kong guy.
John's arms are similar to that of Diddy Kong's.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but would you guys buy this?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I find the save stating super convenient.
I
so,
was
yeah.
going to say that you would buy this.
I have never played any N64 games,
I
so
know.
I have no nostalgia to this.
No.
Whatsoever.
But I think a little device will come out and you'll be like, I need it.
Oh, it's tech. I like tech. I'm Neve.
I pre-ordered the PlayStation Classic.
Oh, Neve!
Fucking
I know.
loser. You weenie.
I'm ready to pull it. Like if I don't, what am I
Fucking
saying?
kill switch that shit.
Yeah.
It'll probably be super easy to mod this thing to add the actual N64 games you want.
They don't seem to care too much about stopping that.
I like it when that happens, when people are like, oh shit, there's all these security breaches, and then a company's like, we don't fucking care. Okay, real fucking quick. Silent Hill content for Metal Gear Survive.
Yay!
Just run me over with a tractor, because what even that there is so much to that sentence. That sentence is like the written failure of Konami condensed down as far as it will go. Like, it's like a fucking poem of just how shit things went for Konami.
Why are they releasing DLC for a game that they're usually selling for a tenner now?
Because there are people playing that game, pumping money into it.
Yeah. It's
That's
a fucking
the
mobile
only
game.
reason. Yeah, there's also Castlevania shit, but the Silent Hill stuff really hurts.
Well, you know, there's still there's someone in the boardroom who still says Silent Hill every 6 months, and that's really cool.
I clicked on the whenever Silent Hill stuff comes up, I'm always like, okay, just not Pyramid Head, please, fucking just not Pyramid Head, just don't. And then I click on the article, and there's a fucking soldier with a pyramid head, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know why I keep expecting you not to hurt me, because you do. But yeah. The PSN name change. I think this story is kind of hilarious, just because, like, there is what it seems like is that, you know, people have wanted to change their PlayStation IDs forever.
Yes.
And it's been, you know, big thing on the list, and Sony have always been really reluctant to do it, and people are like, why are you so reluctant? And it seems like your PlayStation ID is hard coded into a bunch of, like, I don't even know what the word is.
Feels like every individual game.
Yeah.
And, like, tied to your account in a way that can't really be parsed. And so changing it seems like a nightmare, because, like, Sony have this, like, kind of haggard press release about it where they're like, okay, you can you can change your name, but it might fuck up some of your games, and we've given you the option to go back for free if it does. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of voodoo did they use to program this? All it was like one line of code left out at some point that people were just like, nah, it's fine.
Yeah, people are going to commit to the name Grandmaster Blazer 420.
Yeah.
Like that shit'll be fine in 2018.
So my question is, what are you guys going to change your PSNs to?
You get one change for free, and then the change after it is a tenner.
I'm going to change mine to Super Eye Patch Wolf.
Ah, for fuck's sake.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm going to say some awful stuff on that account.
Super Eye Patch Wolf is playing Senran Kagura Burst.
I knew it.
Although, you know what? That's probably going to happen at some
Yeah,
point
well,
anyway. One of those games will be on sale, and I'll be like, yeah, fuck it.
It's John's birthday very soon. Well, let's just see how we get on.
I'm happy with my name. I don't think I'm going to change it.
I'm definitely going to change mine.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's time to, like... I've been...
You
doing
you need to stay on brand.
I need to stay on brand. It's time to change to Ormika_enthusiast full time.
Yeah. No, I use the same online handle for everything. I couldn't use it for Twitch, and it really pissed me off because
Really?
someone else took it.
Yeah, someone's Super Eye Patch Wolf on Instagram.
I just got my Destiny Moments of Triumphs t-shirt in the mail, and it has my old gamer tag printed on the sleeve, so I can never ever change it.
Yeah, Neve, you'd look like an idiot if you changed your gamer tag now.
So cool, Neve. You wear it, I really hope you wear it sometime.
Next time we do a meetup, you have to wear it.
It's a nice shirt. It's fine. It's kind of thin.
Do you think they made the lowest quality material possible?
No, here's the thing. The quality of the t-shirt is fine, and the quality of the print on the front is fine. The quality of the individual sticker with your gamer tag, and the fact that I called it a sticker kind of says it all. It feels
problem.
like an iron-on patch with your gamer tag, although it cost extra to put it there.
Neve, they really fucking got you with
Yeah,
this.
they really do. Destiny keeps doing that to me. I spend so much money and then they trick me into doing it again.
Oh dear. Okay, I think we're coming up to our last story here.
That's the big one.
This is the big one. Rockstar, the 100-hour work week article. Okay, so we should go through this chronologically.
Yeah, it started about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and this was an article with Vulture, and it's Dan Houser, I think.
Yeah, Dan Houser is one of the brothers who is the founder of Rockstar, and he was played by Daniel Radcliffe in that awful made-for-TV movie.
I didn't see that.
It's something else.
Okay. But so he does this thing, and he has this line of dialogue where he's like,
A sentence, not a line of dialogue.
sorry, it's late, I'm tired.
He's not human,
But
and neither is Dan Houser.
he kind of like brags about working 100-hour weeks, and you know what? I think this is kind of funny because it's like Rockstar never give interviews, and the Houser brothers specifically never give interviews.
Yeah, it's a very secretive company.
Yeah, and it's like he crawls out of his rock just this once, and it just fucking explodes. But I was surprised to see, because I read the original interview, and I was surprised he said that because of the whole Rockstar's Wives thing.
Yeah.
And this was like this was a couple of years ago. I think it was during the development of GTA 5.
It was during the development of Red Dead Redemption in 2010.
Redemption, yeah. And it's like an anonymous user on, I think it was LiveJournal, made a post saying that they're like the wives of a lot of Rockstar San Diego employees, and how terrible the working conditions were, and how they were like forced into crunch and were having their benefits constantly reduced and all this kind of stuff. And so it was odd that he'd kind of brag about that. And then I think it was either in that interview or a statement that followed it that he also had this line that I thought was really shitty. It was like, you know, we understand that there might be some people who isn't for this, you know, this kind of work isn't for them, and you know, we wish them best luck in finding a work environment that is better suited to their temperaments. And really,
that's so underhanded.
it felt, and like I feel like so much of this shit is underhanded. Like I
Yeah.
really do. But anyway, and I think later on it turned out that I think the reason they wanted to do this interview with Vulture is I think they wanted to get out in front of this story because Jason Schreier has, you know, as of yesterday, just released this massive big deep dive on it that he's been working on for a while.
Yeah, because he went a month ago to play the game and was questioning about this stuff, and they know that this guy digs deep.
He sure does. But so then, you know, people start getting really upset after this because there's been so much talk about crunch in the games industry, especially after the whole shit with Telltale.
Yeah.
And it turns into, I'm going to call it a shit show for Rockstar. And they then release this kind of thing where it's like, okay, we're going to let our employees talk about this stuff on social media, and like, you know, they get a lot of employees come out and they have very glowing things to say about Rockstar.
I thought that was gross thing to offer.
They're
just to their employees like, whatever you want to say, go ahead and say it. And you think
with your face and name,
yeah, and you think,
it.
and this is a company known for blacklisting people. Do you think the people who really have the biggest problems are going to be the ones jumping at the bit to do this, or do you think the people who are willing to play the game, in air quotes, a little, are the ones who are going to make those tweets?
It was a very calculated move, I felt like, because Rockstar knows, like, Rockstar is notorious for this kind of thing. Like, the way they don't allow people's credits on a game unless they've actually finished it. Like, that stuff is gross. And it's like, to expect a company like that to not hold it against people if they are like, yeah, I work here, the conditions are really bad, you know?
Those tweets were a mixed bag as well. A lot of them were coming out in the positive at the start. A lot of them were really, really positive at the start. Then more and more the negative ones from maybe like smaller voices were like, well, I don't know what it's like to work in that part of Rockstar, but like on the art side or the QA side, it hasn't been like that. There has been crunch.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a weird one because, like, I get that some people are genuinely happy. Like, some people just love to crunch. Like, they love to do stuff like that.
And they have a sense of ownership on the project, which is a bit weird, but sure.
Yeah, but it's also the kind of thing where it's like, you know, I'm a big believer in when you sign a contract with a company, you know, you go in, you do exactly what they want you to do, and you do it to the best of your abilities, and you go home. But with some of the stuff with Rockstar, it sounds like it's a culture thing, and that's where it gets complicated, because they might not send around like an email being like everyone has to hit 70 hours this week, but they can reinforce notions like that through things like culture. And like, you know, I've worked in places before. Like, I remember one of the most kind of infuriating conversations I ever had, it was with a team lead, and I was like, listen, if you need me to work overtime this week, I'll work overtime, but you need to tell me. But he didn't want to say that particularly. He wanted me to kind of get the message that they needed overtime. And that was like infuriating, because it's like, I can do this, but like, I want acknowledgements that you need me to do it, because otherwise I'm just going to go home. And that stuff has always bothered me. So when I see this stuff, it kind of boils my blood a little bit.
It really does, because it is that like, people don't understand what studio culture can be like.
And I feel like once you start getting into paid overtime, bit of a different conversation.
Yeah.
I think it still comes with its own issues, because the human body still has limitations, but that's from a bit more like, yeah, all right.
But when we talk about crunch, and when the game industry talks about crunch, it is very rarely paid.
Yeah.
This is like a culture that makes you stay late because you feel like you're letting down your peers. You feel like you might be fired. You feel like maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe I'm not fast enough, you know. There's a whole pile of ways for you to put that back on yourself because that's the culture, before you'll ever start to consider, well, maybe this is a company problem.
Yeah, it's this sense of fear-mongering, and that if one person doesn't do it, then all of a sudden you think that you're the odd one out. But I'm sure everyone is feeling the same way. You leaving early, you get dirty looks, and you think you're getting dirty looks because you're leaving early and you're letting the team down. But there's a sense of jealousy there that you're deciding to leave on the hours you were contracted to work.
Yeah, and like I've been in that position as well. That's a shitty feeling.
Yeah,
but it's the kind of thing where it's like, well, no.
Like, you feel guilty, but why should you feel guilty for doing that?
Yeah, it's like, and so, you have a very mixed reaction to this online, and like, you know, a lot of people saying like, oh, you know, they're working their dream jobs or whatever, and it's that kind of thing where it's like, man, like, working your dream job does not make up for like 70 or 80 hour weeks consistently.
No.
So eventually Jason Schreier, this came out very recently, came out with this like really in-depth like breakdown, citing like, I think he spoke to around 90 or just less than 90 employees total, some former, some present, and it definitely paints like the picture of a place where like the culture of that place is making these massive games, but at a pretty huge cost. And like, I don't think it's not like malicious, but it doesn't really have to be for it to be a problem.
These games are billion-dollar games.
Yeah.
GTA 5 was the best-selling game ever.
Yeah. And that starts to get complicated when it's like, well, they were unpaid overtime, having their benefits reduced and stuff like that. But it's...
And developers and contract workers who are on contracts do not get any residuals or any extra things depending on how well the game goes.
Oh, I think they do. In the Jason Schreier story, there was a bit about like how they get a bonus dependent on like the success of the game, and usually in a lot of games companies that's pretty measly. In Rockstar, it actually sounded pretty substantial.
Yeah.
But that's
okay.
also only if you cross the finish line.
That's where that comes in.
And the bonus is dependent on, it is dependent on the game's success. So Max Payne 3 had a shitty bonus.
Yeah.
But GTA 5 had a really good bonus.
Yeah. And yeah, it's the kind of thing where even a lot of the positive employees were very much like, yeah, crunch is totally a thing. And I really think crunch, that's a failure of the management team, and it can't be the kind of thing where it is constant crunch, because even all the writings there, like all the papers there are to be like, yeah, it doesn't actually work, like productivity levels off after a point, and getting people to keep doing it is just bad. And like an example he gives is way late into the production of the game, they wanted to put black borders on all the cutscenes, which meant all the cutscenes had to be reframed, which was months of work for this team, and there was no solution other than crunch. And that kind of shit sucks. And sometimes I wonder, because like, do you remember that, I think it was in the Blood, Sweat and Pixels book, the section from the Uncharted team about the bags of sand?
Oh yeah, the individual grains of rice or sand or something.
Yeah. It's like, well, when you shoot a bag, we want to see the rice pour out, and we want to see the particles. And it's like, is that really, is that kind of shit really worth this?
To someone who has zero connection with what's going on in the ground floor, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, to them it's like, that's a cool concept, go with it. But that will take X amount of months. Do it.
Yeah, a bunch of names on the list of people I have no connection with, they'll do it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and I feel like kind of, we've even had similar discussions before, but like, I think what it really comes down to is at some point game developers, you know, and anyone working on games, I think the only way this stuff really gets better is, you know, unionizing, some kind of like organized workforce. Because even I feel like Rockstar's actions have been constantly so PR centric. Like there's this really weird section in the Jason Schreier article where they bring him in and he's sitting down with their head of public relations and then two monitors, one on his left, or like one left, one right. And on one monitor, there's two employees from like a studio in England. On the other, there's like two employees from a San Diego studio. And they all give Rockstar, and this goes on for 2 hours with different studios switching out. And at one point, Jason, like the PR guy is like, so how do you think it's going? And Jason Schreier is like, I don't think they're going to really give me an honest answer, surrounded by their peers and their head of public relations. And the guy is like shocked. He's like surprised that this is a thing.
On a video camera that's been recorded.
Yeah.
That's some North Korea shit.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like this is still being treated as a public relations problem, not like an actual, you know, human problem, and that's kind of disheartening.
I think we'll loot drop the actual article because it is a really good read. It's like over 10,000 words. It's fucking huge.
Yeah, it's
but
good.
it digs deep.
Yeah, and it's entertaining.
Yeah. I know the thing about the, like, with the video game industry, it's still super young. It's 30 years old in some aspects. So I think there will be unions at some point. This will be definitely a case for it. I know in animation, there's no animation unions really except in Hollywood, but that's because animation in Hollywood's 100 years old, so it makes sense for it to be unions. So like it will come with time. I just hope it. I hope this is the pushing for it.
Yeah, me too. It's interesting. I think at the end of the article, there's also a little bit about whether people should like boycott Red Dead Redemption 2 or not.
Yeah, there's a lot of people worked really hard on it.
Yeah, and even the people who are like, it's a weird one because like you don't want to reward Rockstar for this stuff, but even the people who are like really bitter at Rockstar, and there was a lot in this article, I felt like they're kind of like, well, the game and the business practices are kind of different, which is interesting because I kind of feel like when you bring it to something more personal, like YouTube or something like that, I have to feel like the person's content I'm consuming is like an okay person at the very least. It gets trickier when it's like this giant multinational thing that like
that's multiple studios. Yeah, it's just.
I think all you can do from a consumer is like, I don't think voting for your wallet will matter in any capacity when it comes to a Rockstar game.
This is going to sell 1 billion copies.
Yeah, either way.
But I think where people can show their support is when like game devs talk about unions and supporting the concept of unions in general and supporting a push for those.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's a weird one. I think people who are genuinely just, they love the idea of working on a giant project for, 4 or 5 extra hours a day. Like, that's cool, that's fine. I think where it becomes tricky is like you have to respect that not everyone's like that, and that not everyone should be like that. Like people have families, people have lives, people have their own things, and I think when that gets forgotten in the name of just a massive corporation, that's something that gets super shitty. And even like just from like my own personal experience dealing with companies, like what I really feel is like you have to look out for yourself. Like, and a company will tell you all kinds of things to get you on board, and you will give so much more than you should. But like honestly, I've never felt that overly rewarded at a company. And like I've worked at companies before where it's just like they really do not care about you, and the second you are not needed, you are gone, no matter how much you give. And I think people should be very aware of that. I think a lot of young people, like we know kind of younger people who've gotten into studios and stuff, and they will give everything to the company for so little in return. Yeah,
I've got one guy at work who's not taking his holidays. Like he's forgotten to book his holidays, and it's coming up to the end of the year, and it's ridiculous. And I remember being like that in my first year, just thinking like, no, like I'm really liking working here. And it's like they stop paying at 5:30, go home. And like I guess with animation, because it is so similar to video game development in some ways, it's just a lot less fucked up. But I guess with any project, there's like 2 or 3 creative roles at the very top, and you are not doing a creative job. You might tell yourself you're a creative person, and that's great, you are a creative person, but you're hired for your skills. That's all you owe them. You just do your work, and you work on other stuff in your free time.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, if you're a creative, it should be defined by the shit you do in your free time.
Yeah, what you do for a living does not have to be your job.
No. What say we move into some emails?
Okay, just a second. Okay, this one is from Turbosonic, and they have a good question at the end, and it's about cookies.
Okay.
Unrelated but important. What do you all think is objectively the worst cookie? I'm willing to make some enemies and say it's chocolate chip. Get those shitty chocolate lumps out of my cookies. Gross.
Interesting.
White chocolate.
What the fuck?
White chocolate.
I hate white chocolate, and I hate white chocolate cookies, and those specific cookies that kind of taste like shortbread with white chocolate are the absolute worst. It tastes like just like sour milk to me.
Whenever me and Rebecca hang out, our thing is literally we buy white chocolate cookies.
I know, because they're sometimes in the house. And I'm like, I'll eat a cookie, and then I'm like, no, I won't.
There is a bit of a dry yogurt taste off them.
Yeah, they're just like so sad.
I'm not that like nasty, or like I'm not nasty, but like I wouldn't take my distaste for them personally, but like they're never an option in my life, so I don't care about them. For me, it's anything that's like, raisins in cookies.
Oh,
what the,
yeah,
what the fuck is that shit?
You know, just raisins. Just fuck them. Like, we don't need them. They're shit. Like, they're crap.
Yeah, like I don't like raisins or like the glycine cherries that like fucking irritate your taste buds. Fuck that. Fuck that shit in a cookie.
Okay.
Fuck it out.
We're gonna get real. Fuck Oreos.
Oh yeah, I don't like Oreo flavored stuff. They've gone too far.
No,
I like Oreos.
There was a time when I thought Oreos were the shit. No more. They're oversaturated. I mean, I'll still eat them. I'm gonna eat many more Oreos in my life. I'm gonna get white chocolate covered Oreos and eat that right up. But man, there's something about them that just makes me frustrated now.
Is it like McDonald's where you're just like, it's bad, but I'm gonna eat it?
I had a real bad Burger King in the airport.
But but I like the Burger King at the airport.
I know. We'll get it again probably. But whatever. I don't know. We're gonna be in a flight again sometime, right?
Oh yeah, we sure will.
But yeah, I was real disappointed. But yeah, I think Oreo. I feel like whatever it is about Oreos, I've had enough. Like I'm not actually, but yeah, I don't respect Oreos. There you go. What else we got?
Okay, this one is from Connor. The question is about growing out of things. Do you guys think disliking things you used to like is a natural process as you get older, or do you think it depends on the person? For example, I used to be the video game guy to a lot of my friends. However, now when they ask me about recent releases, I usually just sigh and try to change the subject because I don't play anything really anymore. Do you think this is a natural process or just part of my cynical personality?
I've fluctuated through video games though. Like I've played them pretty steadily my entire life, and then there was just 2 years where I just did not play any. That's weird.
I couldn't imagine you like.
Oh.
But
What did you-
first when I came out of
coming out of college is
Yeah.
a dark time.
You've no routine, or you're trying to figure out your routine and what you'd like to do.
But I don't think it's like it might be even just a thing. Like I love cartoons, love them enough to get into animation. I have no capacity to watch cartoons anymore apart from the first episodes to see the design and animation. I don't like the storytelling in cartoons anymore.
Like for me, I'll pause it and I'm looking at the technical stuff.
Yeah.
Neve,
And I
someday
can't.
I should tell you about these things called Japanese anime. I think they'll alleviate a lot of your concerns.
There's a
But
show
even,
called
like-
Attack on Titan. You could like it.
But like, you know, like say Hilda and stuff, or even Adventure Time. Like I appreciate it on an animator's level, but I can't really appreciate it more on a story level anymore because I want to watch live action stories now, and that's just where I have gone with
In a
my
weird way, I
cartoon
find
love.
live action stories less stressful because I feel more removed from it, and I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not this.
It's way more believable because you're not thinking about how it was made or any I don't know, like, is there stuff you liked as a teenager and you were like, gee, what the fuck was I thinking? That is not part of my identity anymore, and I reject that. Because for me, that's Family Guy. Fuck that show. I used to love that thing when I was like fucking 15. That show was crap, and I want nothing to do with that fucking thing.
Like, I think it's an excuse me, it's an interesting question because like part of it is like he's just not into video games in general anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, say what you're talking about, Brian, and like I think they're both kind of interesting, but it's like there are so few things that once I like them, I will go back on them. Like even Family Guy, I'm not gonna sit down and watch Family Guy anymore. But I remember like the first 2 or 3 seasons, I could probably go back and watch those episodes and get a kick out of them because at the time Family Guy was so weird and different. Like it was this insanely just irreverent thing, like on a level that nothing else really was. And the reasons it's shit, like the reasons, you know, just the jokes that don't come from anywhere, the complete lack of any kind of character writing and stuff like that, those are kind of the good things about it at the time. But once the shock of those wears off, it's when it becomes kind of shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I guess with me, no matter what it is, I think once I like it, I always kind of like it. In terms of like the broader, like not being into like an entire medium or genre, I do feel that. And honestly, this year I've kind of felt that a little bit with anime. Like there's so few shows out this year that I've gotten excited about. And like I just went through a bunch of the most recent season shows, and Jesus Christ, it's grim. And like, I'm not even talking about stuff like Goblin Slayer, like although I watched the first episode of that and I was like, yeah, whatever. But like, even the zombie show people are into, you know that one? I watched that and it is like, it is just lifeless. It just feels like nothing.
The first minute of that was really good, and then I looked at my phone. Yeah.
And like, I really hated it. And so right now I kind of feel like, man, I'm just not that into anime, and that kind of, I hate that. But at the same time, I know that I think your interest in things goes in waves, and
But so does the thing. Like, anime goes in waves as well, and it's in a weird period right now where I feel like it's very fetish based.
Yeah.
and it's been crawling towards that for years. But
Yeah.
I think it's stagnating, and it's been stagnating for a while. But it's stagnating to the point that I feel like something big has to happen soon. Something's going to shake it up, and I'm excited for that. But yeah, man, it's rough.
Like, because I can see someone falling off video games during the first-person shooter time of like the 360 era, or where we stopped getting Japanese games for a long time, and now we're getting a lot of them now.
I think this era is so much better than that era.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
like HD PS2 games where just weird experimental shit is coming out.
I really like 360 PlayStation 3 era because it was a lot of shooters and I enjoyed that, but none of those games are my favorite games. They were all like solid experiences. I feel like I'm in a new PlayStation 2 era where we're starting to get weird shit now again, you know, and that's fun. So I feel like games go through their own cycles of tracing trends and then also development becoming cheaper for other people to try things.
Even at, God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about how much like mediums can change. At like peak PlayStation shooter era, like fighting games weren't a thing.
No, they weren't.
Like, you could get really niche stuff, but like a big fighting game release was not an event that happened.
Yeah, like BlazBlue would come out from somewhere like at the same time of Gears of War.
Yeah.
But now we're in this like renaissance of fighting games again.
Yeah, you got
yeah.
like Soul Calibur 6 and stuff. Just I need to check that out actually.
Yeah, like I think 10 years ago it was definitely very passive. Like, I'm trying to think of like 360 games and Wii games and like whether any of them would be in like, you know, a real personal affection kind of like top 10 list or anything like that, and they wouldn't be. Like, none of the Wii games are that good.
No More Heroes is pretty good.
That
I think
That's
there's like
it.
one or two, but then the rest of your top 10 list would all be made from like pre and post.
yeah.
I think the games that I will remember, I think there's more games on the PS4 right now, like halfway through the generation, that I'll remember forever than are on the 360. And look, there's stuff I love on the 360. I love Bayonetta. I love Dead Rising. I love... Man.
Halo. I love
No.
I like the Dead Space games on the 360, and they're kind of from that era. That's kind of like I like Mario Galaxy, but I don't fucking care about it.
Yeah.
So it's just like I appreciate that game, but I'm never gonna fucking.
Mario Galaxy is just a poor man's No More Heroes.
There you go.
They're the same game, basically. Just...
I've also known friends who go through crazy cycle with video games where they'll play like non-stop, like literally non-stop for 3 years, and then not play games for like 5, and then go back to playing them again. And it's just like this like real gap of time where they kind of revisit certain hobbies depending where they're at in their lives. And you might be in that kind of thing. Like, it mightn't be to do with cynicism at all. Maybe you just
yeah.
you don't have time. Or
You're definitely not a cynical
No,
person.
I don't think so.
You are a human being with
and
thoughts and feelings.
I also feel like you shouldn't have to try to enjoy media. Like, if something's a pain to sit through, you shouldn't like try and stick with it just because it's something you like. Because, like, you know, right now I'm watching less anime because every time I take a chance with a new show, it just feels the. I'm sure that'll change at some point and I'll be back in, but yeah. So yeah, it's a good email.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, then this is just a quick one from Christian, and it was I've been going through and listening to some of the older podcasts while getting some art done, and was absolutely shocked to hear that John had played Guitaru Man. I thought that I was the only one who knew that game existed. I was wondering, John, could you just talk about that game real quick?
Let me tell you about a lonely 17-year-old boy with a long summer ahead of him and no friends and nothing to do. And that boy wandered on down to Game. Yes, it was Game. And he bought himself a copy of Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution and a second-hand copy of Guitar Man. Those are two of the greatest games on the PlayStation 2. Fucking fantastic. Guitar Man. If people don't know what Guitar Man is, please look up some footage of it. In particular, the second stage where Guitar Man fights the evil alien Japanese pop UFOs. It is about a boy who transforms into his alternate persona, Guitar Man, and his little dog turns into a boombox. And it is so hard and it is so good, and there are so many bangers on that soundtrack, and I love it so dearly. And it's not the kind of thing I recommend to people, because who the fuck is going to go out and dig out their PS2 and get a copy of this broken ass game? But I love it, and it was the PlayStation 2 at its weirdest and just most unique, and it is such a special game.
What's your favorite track?
The second track is really
The
good.
second track's really good.
It should
but
be the end credits.
But the Bone Trio one's
It's a spooky episode. We're not allowed to have it.
the Bone Trio one's really good as well.
Oh, yeah, that's spooky.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those games. When I think back to it, I just get filled with overwhelming joy.
I got a loan of a PS2 in summer 2008, and John lent me Guitar Man, and I played a lot of it. It's a very good rhythm game, but I also showed it to my friends down in Cork, and we all played it together, and we all downloaded the soundtrack.
It's amazing.
It's a beautiful game.
Yeah, always happy to talk about Guitar Man. Brian, why did you take us out of here with a special Halloween email?
It was lights out, and my cousin and I were lying in bed.
I should add some preface to this. This was a trip his family took and rented out like a kind of camping lodge area.
Yeah. We were talking in whispers before going to sleep, like we always did. But then we heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Very faint, but we both heard it. My cousin sat up to inspect, and he immediately saw it. My cousin told me he could see a girl, about our age, not outside our window, but on the window adjacent to a hall. We could see through our window. There was a small patch of field between our dorm room and the hall to a canteen. So I sat up to see for myself, and there she was. She wasn't any of ours on the trip, but she didn't look out of place, and we figured she must have been from another group visiting. She was waving for us to come over to the hall, pointing to where the dorm and the hall intersect. My cousin wanted to go. He just wanted to go meet up with a girl, but I super did not want to leave my bed. We bickered until he convinced me to go. I was a kid. I wanted to be cool. We got as far as the end of the dorm hall until I froze up. I was scared walking through the halls at night. I told my cousin that I was freaked out and that he could go if he wanted. It turns out he was a bit freaked out too, because he wouldn't go alone, and followed me back to the room. We looked through the window and she was gone, probably to meet us at the intersection. We shrugged it off and went back to our beds. A few minutes passed, and thump thump thump. My cousin's eyes were wide. I couldn't see out the window, so he had to tell me it was the girl outside. He whispered for me to close the curtain, which I did, but took me a while to work out the courage. With the curtains closed, I could still see the window. Just a sliver, a view of the sky. Thump thump thump. I could see her finger touching the glass. She hadn't moved.
Creepy.
She hadn't moved. This goes on for a few minutes while me and my cousin locked eyes and held our breaths, just hoping she'd go away. And eventually she did, and when we thought it was safe to talk, we shared our what the fucks and our who the hells until we found ourselves drifting to sleep. When we woke up in the morning, we asked my grandfather at breakfast about other people renting out the campus the same time as us, to which he told us, "There's no one here but us." Thank you, Owen.
I really enjoyed that. I thought that was fucking spooky as shit.
It was for sure your cousin fucking with you. Go on.
But the guy saw the girl's finger on the window.
It was just a sliver of moonlight.
No,
It's just
No,
fucking-
Neve, that doesn't make any sense. Do you know what fucking moonlight looks like?
Neve, girls are creepy and weird.
Yeah,
you know
girls
it.
are creepy. Yeah, Neve wouldn't get this because she doesn't understand how dangerous girls are. Oh. Yeah, I like that one.
That was pretty spooky.
It's pretty spooky.
Those are our emails. If you want to email us, it's askletsfightaboss@gmail.com.
That's askletsfightAboss@gmail.com.
We also have other websites. We have a Twitter.
It's at Let's Fight a Boss.
We have an Instagram, which is also at Let's Fight a Boss. We have
At Patreon.
Kaching.
Huge shout outs to all our patrons for funding that ridiculous mukbang.
Yeah.
During that entire thing, all I could hear was Neve being like, if we hit this much money, we're going to do a mukbang. And me immediately going, Neve!
This is why we're here. Just want to say about that video, I really enjoyed making it. At the very end, when I drank the milk, I've seen some comments where people are like, wow, you can really see Brian's face like full of regret. That, honestly, I felt like shit. That milk lined my entire stomach where I could not like breathe properly.
I think one of the parts of that I really enjoyed happened afterwards when Neve was like lying on the ground in pain from all the milk. And I just said to Neve, why did you do this? Like, why did you want to drink? And I'll never forget her response. She just goes, I just wanted to be the cool milk friend.
You know, the one.
Yeah, you know that like the person in a group of friends who's like always got a milk and everyone's like, whoa.
You got the jock, the goth, the milk kid.
Anyway,
It's kind of funny looking back at that mukbang because we did that the night before the Final Fantasy video went up, and I had been working on that video for like 12 hours, and then I had to work on that video for the rest of the night into the following morning, and I just look fucking destroyed in that video. Like, I'm so tired, but it was still fun.
it was lots of fun. Thank you everyone who supports us on Patreon for making that happen.
Oh yeah, what a ridiculous thing.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous thing, and it was done by three of us, and also Rebecca and Jerry, but also the patrons. So thank you everyone.
Honestly, mostly the patrons.
Yeah.
If we're gonna get real.
yeah. They
But
made
yeah,
it.
thanks everyone, and hey, thanks for listening.
So we have some patron shout outs here.
We do.
Neve, do you want to go with the first one?
Ventus. El Fabbers Assemble.
Fuck.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, this one is mine. This is from Lachlan. Hello to Jason Isaacs.
Next one comes from Omega-Jester, and I can't understand a word of this, so I think it's like some weird.
I'll say it.
No, I can do it.
You can do it.
Shout outs from Straya M8. Keep it strong, and thanks for brightening up my life every fortnight. Half the words in that make no sense at all.
Fortnite with the kids are playing?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think he's a big fan of the current Battle Royale surge. And so, yeah, guys, that's an episode. How spooky do you think this episode is?
There are moments.
I thought it
Yeah.
could have been spookier.
Episode was recorded on top of a mountain. True.
Yeah, we're
True-
in a
true fact.
haunted cabin.
We're in a haunted cabin on top of a mountain, and John's face is on fire.
That is all true.
And we're playing a Ouija board.
Yeah.
And it's
No,
spelling
we don't do
something
that.
out.
Yeah. Who set up the window? Okay, loot drops.
Oh, shit, okay.
That's what the Ouija board spelled out. Oh, it's going.
Loot
Wait.
drops.
Whoa.
L.
Okay, I am going to drop this really sad video that made me cry a little bit.
Jesus Christ.
I feel bad. Look, it's really sad. It's like Roman Reigns, the WWE champion. He recently was diagnosed with a returning case of leukemia, and he had to drop the belt. And it's like, that's really sad. But the reason I'm kind of loot dropping it is like his promo sounds like a weird way to put it. Him like confronting the issue in the ring on a microphone to a live audience is like, it's really sad and it's really hard to watch, but I think it's also kind of like part of what makes wrestling interesting, in that it is just this kind of really exaggerated cartoonish form of entertainment that is actually intertwined with these real life people. And I think it can be very easy to forget that, especially with a character like Roman Reigns, which has like such divisive opinions on. And like I've fallen on like the negative side of talking about Roman Reigns a lot of the time, and like I do think they could be doing better with his writing and stuff, but something like this really, you know, it hits home to me that like these are kind of still people and stuff, and it's really powerful. And I thought he handled the situation with an incredible amount of integrity. Like he even thanks the people who booed him because they were still reacting to him, and I thought that was really cool. And I think this is some really powerful stuff, and so enjoy.
Niamh?
Mine is a 9-minute video from Brandy TV where she eats some special treats, waits an hour, and then does the makeup from The Nun while high off her ass.
Okay.
What?
Okay, both Niamh and I sign in to the Let's Fight a Boss YouTube account, so I am able to see what happens when Niamh forgets to sign out, and I get to see her history. And what I get recommended is just like doing clown makeup after edibles. Is this the shit?
Yeah, this is it. And like she uses the most like store like bought like just, you know, zombie face makeup that you can get in like a pound shops kind of crap, and
Yeah, they're really good.
She gets really high and then she tries to do her makeup. And so I'm gonna drop Brandy TV doing The Nun after edibles.
If you ever go on our history and it's all been deleted, it's all empty, I can explain that.
Uh-oh.
What you got, Brian?
The Kotaku article on Rockstar, just because we were talking about it, and if you haven't read it, please do. But then Super Bunny Hop did a video on Telltale Games, and it's really, really, really good timing that it came out just before the Rockstar stuff got published. But it just talks about, like, he has some suggestions about how that company kind of fell apart, and just the working conditions in the more recent years. And it's just pretty well researched, and if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah. Real super quick, I just want to give one tiny little Halloween loot drop. There's a channel I've been watching called Nitro Rad, and he's this guy, and he pretty much nearly exclusively, or at least for the last month, has been covering horror games, but he's done like these, you know, really cool videos about like really obscure PlayStation 2 horror games like Rule of Rose, like the first 3 Clock Tower games, and they're just, I really, one of the parts of games I love are just really weird horror games, and it's been really interesting watching him explore them. So Nitro Rad, check him out. I'd really recommend his video on Rule of Rose especially. It's cool. And that's it.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
So instead, you taste my pain.